Holy Toledo, I just got off the interview on the podcast on Beyond the Network Marketing Dream with Mike Healy. And I got to tell you, one of the most enjoyable interviews or podcasts that we've had so far. Mike is recruited 2,500 people in network marketing. He's been in network marketing for 27 years, in digital marketing for 12 years. And the crazy part is he's married the two. Like in a very rare sort of way, he understands the difference between network marketing and digital marketing. And excited for the interview, married 27 years, 3 kids, all around good guy. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome to Beyond the Network Marketing Dream, where we go beyond the hype and head behind the scenes with industry leaders and experts. Join us for new insights, strategies, and smart discussions about building successfully in today's world.
Mike Healy, how are you, my friend? It is exciting to have you on the podcast today. We got so much to talk about. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Totally appreciate you having me on here, Patrick. I actually been looking forward to this. This ought to be fun.
Well, in full disclosure to everybody, I had to preempt this podcast about a week or so ago to get you on with our whole team to talk about what we could do at Rapid Funnel to really promote more effectively leveraging podcasts, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, man, you're such an expert in two different worlds, the digital marketing world and the network marketing world. I was pretty excited to have you share some of that stuff, man.
I totally enjoyed it. It's fun. I had no idea that I had a little nerd in me. This was probably, I think I've been doing digital marketing of some kind, probably going on 12 years now. So I really dove into it and I know that it works, and that's where everything's going.
Well, give everybody like the 2 or 3 minute, how did you get here between the social world, the digital world, the network marketing world, and then what are you up to today?
Okay, so I'm going to try to compress 27 years of network marketing experience into 2 minutes. How's that? Okay, so coming out of high school, didn't know what I was going to do. Supposed to go to the military, broke my leg, got pins in it, got a medical discharge before I got in. I was kind of a stocky guy, ended up being a bouncer down at Ohio State campus, became head of security, got into bar business for 8 years, got completely burned out, totally out, became an alcoholic, pretty much broke, that kind of thing. And someone took me to a network marketing meeting. So there's 20 some years right there. Man. And then I went and saw a meeting, and it was so boring. It was the worst thing I'd ever seen. I thought it was a job interview. And I think it was like after 45 minutes, the last slide that this guy showed was like some money. And it was funny because they were talking about making residual income. And so I'm all excited, and I'd never even heard of the concept. Mm-hmm. And so I give my dad a call and I said, Dad, there's this thing I just looked at. These guys are promoting this thing called residential income, and these guys are making a ton of money. He goes, you mean residual? I go, I think they got that too. And he laughed, and he had to explain to me what residual income was. And so I ended up getting started in networking. I'm old enough, like I said, I'm 55. I'm old enough to where all the presentations were done in hotel rooms with paper flip charts. And then finally slideshows came out and overhead projectors. And that was when cells finally came out. We didn't even have the internet back then. And so I pretty much became a student of the game, did okay for probably the first, few years. I was able to quit my bartending career, not because I was making a lot of money, but I was just burned out. I made a few bucks, like enough to cover what I was making bartending. I said, I'm done. I literally walked out on a job. No 2 weeks notice. I just flipped the quarter, said heads I stay, tails I go. Came up tails, and out the door I went. And that's how I launched my networking career. The next thing I did was just, became a student. I basically was around everybody I could. I went to every meeting I could. I read books. I actually, Paul Orbison, who sadly passed away, was my one kind of the guy I really admired, was with the first company I was in. And he, what was really great about Paul was he was just a good old boy. And, he was awesome, but he he was extremely smart, but he played dumb. And a lot of people understand what we're talking about, especially if you know who he was. But he was really inspiring. Like, he was very inspiring, and he was just this basic guy. And everybody was kind of like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so that's kind of how I modeled what I was doing afterwards. And then if you speed up, I quit network marketing after about 10 years, ups and downs, successes, frustrations. And then I got my first job I'd had in 10 years as a personal trainer. And then during that period, somebody introduced me to a company with a functional health beverage. And I ended up getting into that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this one more good go. And ended up being one of the top money earners in that company, covered their magazine, made, seven figures, whole nine yards. But it was during that point that I was the first start of an introduction of new platforms and programs that were coming out that you could really leverage your time, which was the first one was called GoToWebinar, which is I was the first person, I believe, in our company to do a live presentation via the internet, which was just coming out. And during that period, that was when everybody was like, if you were in network marketing, it was go to a person's house or go to a hotel meeting. Don't stay off the evil internet. Stay off of these platforms called Twitter, Facebook, or MySpace back then. And I was just intrigued at the leverage concept. And so that's kind of what really got me started. So did I get it all in 2 minutes?
No, that's perfect. And so you got the power of residual duplication, of network marketing. And then on the digital marketing side, kind of shed a little bit more light on that. How did so you saw the GoToWebinar and all that, and maybe even speed up and talk about what are you doing today on some of that front, and how do you separate those two worlds for the average person in the organization?
Okay, perfect. So so let me slow down. So the important thing for people to understand is, I'm still the same person, the average Joe kind of guy that gives a simple message. Okay. But what I've figured out how to do is use technology to quickly amplify that message. Okay. And so as an example, one of the first things that I got into was YouTube. I started a YouTube channel. My first video was me kickboxing on a heavy bag, right? I just was testing it. And then I thought, well, people keep calling me, like, because when I became real popular in that company, like, it was just, my phone would just start ringing from people in the network, like just everybody, not even in my group and stuff like that. And I was always cordial enough. And I'm like, man, and then it just dawned on me. I'm like, well, shoot, I could probably take the time to sit in front of my computer, my computer. And I didn't have a computer that recorded at that time. I had one of those little flip cameras. Remember the flip camera before an iPhone that had a camera? And I just sat it on my desk and I just started talking to it. And I said, hey, this is how I've been recruiting. I make phone calls. I ask people to go look at a website. And then I follow up. I mean, something simple like that. So then I made that video, posted it. And then when people would ask me, I'd say, hey, I'll send you a video and do a training. So it was like, I began to duplicate my trainings digitally, right? So this is me coming, this is like third grader part of this part. And then I started to just really dive into it. And I became some friends with some guys that were some computer guys, good marketers. Then I started studying funnels. Then I started, understanding what an avatar was and things like that. So ultimately, in a nutshell, is all I've done is learn to take tried and true principles of how to recruit, how to duplicate, and I use tools and systems to amplify and speed that process up. In a nutshell, that's all I've really done, and it's been extremely effective.
And I guess, for everybody listening, this is the thing that really strikes me, right? Is we're going through these phases. I think network marketing, the industry is really changing right now. And I'll have to take 1 second to frame this, but I want you to speak to it. There was a time when I started, you have a flip book, a fax, a phone, a meeting, and a VHS tape. It's so simple. This is what you do. People say, well, what order? It doesn't matter. Hand them a tape, fax them, call them. Like there's only 3 or 4 tools. That's it. Then we get into this digital world, and we've seen this proliferation of digital marketers, influencers, avatars, whatever you want to call them, and companies even changing their comp plans to try and accommodate their need or their belief that they have to go recruit these digital marketers. Now you're doing both. Like you're really good. You're, between podcast and YouTube and reels and all these things that you're doing that can generate a lot of recruits in network marketing, but you keep them separate. Like, the rank and file, the average distributor. I used to believe that was somewhat unethical to do something that they can't do. And I've come to realize, look, man, it's just the stages of the business. That's all. For the brand new person, all that's overwhelming. Don't talk about it. And now with Rapid Funnel, I'm almost seeing for the first time ever this bridging. Like, okay, I can take the brand new person. I can use my savvy digital marketing experience to build some tools that will get them halfway there, the average person, with no effort, because it's all in the app. And then I can do my very elite kind of stuff to recruit the number of people I could never otherwise do without digital marketing strategies. Does that make sense to you? And maybe you can restate it in your own way or drill down on that if it makes sense. I mean, just
okay,
it's a very frank podcast. So just tell me what you think.
So it not only made sense, but it's an important point that you brought up, because here's the brain disconnect for most networkers. Is they think they have to be one or the other.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I understood this. Like I was like, because there was people in, like, I would see these guys that were all digital. Like that's the only thing they did. And it was pretty much their show and they were all digital and they did amazing. Then I saw these older gentlemen that were all old school meetings, that kind of, home meetings, hotel meetings, shirt and ties, and they were fantastic. And I kept thinking to myself,
yeah, you
could be the RoboCop kind of networker if you could combine the two worlds. And so what I figured out how to do is why I think I've become as successful is some of the principles are this. So in network marketing, the first training I ever went to in 1997, I believe it was, a guy, and I have the notes today of this. The guy said something in his very Southern Georgia accent. I drove from Ohio. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Me and a group of guys took a van and drove to Georgia to see this. And the guy said, you can't control how many tomatoes a tomato plant produces. You can only control how many tomato plants you plant.
That sounds like something Earl Shaw would have said.
And it was such a brilliant thing that I never forgot it. So then you fast forward about 4 years and I run into a kid, because I called him a kid. I was in my 30s or 40s and he was 10 years younger than me and he was just crushing it. And he pulls out his organization, his downline report. And I said, how are you? He's got like 20,000 people and I've got like 2,000. And he was in like half the time I was. And I'm like, how did you do this? He says, I'm going to show you something. So he shows me his downline report and it's paper printouts back then. Yeah. And the first page was like 80 names of people. But you'd see his name, but then next to it, it would show the number of people they've personally recruited. And it would said, Joe, 0, Bill, 0, Lisa, 1, Ray, 0, Tom, 40, Bill, 1, Michelle, 1, Michelle, 0, or, whatever. And it went through the thing. And out of all those, out of 80, there was probably only 5 of them that had more than 5 personals. He goes, now I want you to go through those 5. And of the 5, there's 3 of them that had 40, like 60, and one had like 105. Go to those. So I pull through his report. I go to the guy that had like 105, and it's the same statistics. And so what I understood was that no matter what, the number one skill I could have is always personal recruiting. because I could always recruit myself out of any slump, any momentum issue. The new blood is the lifeblood. So these are all principles, and I got a purpose of this story, are all principles that are going there. Now, here's the thing. Most people don't want to be super recruiters. They might not understand that they want to make 20 phone calls a day or whatever, right? Or it seems difficult. And so in 2008, I heard an audio tape by Michael Gerber. It was a live seminar he did, and he was the guy that wrote the book, The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth. And it was a really good book. But in his live seminar, he said he did a quick story on, it was quick enough, about McDonald's and why McDonald's was so successful. And he started saying, he said it's all about their systems. He said Ray Kroc wasn't fascinated with the burger, it was fascinated with the system. And so I started really listening to this. It just popped out to me. It was like a diamond bullet hit me in the forehead.
Yeah.
And he said, systems are the leverage by which you turn ordinary people into extraordinary performers. Great businesses do not look for extraordinary people. Great businesses leverage them with extraordinary systems. And I listened to this track on this CD over and over and over and over as he told the story, because he said, because the majority of people are average. You see, what's happening is people are trying a lot of times to go out there and lift people up into being, and I know another dumb analogy story was a guy that was a dairy farmer. And there was a guy that was like a multi-million-dollar dairy farmer. And there was a kid that wanted to be what he wanted to be a dairy farmer. So this guy had huge farm, tons of cows, So this kid goes out and buys over a year's period, buys 5 cows. And he's out there every day just milking these cows. And nothing's really happening. One cow does this, one cow does this. He finally gets frustrated and says, milking cows doesn't work. I'll never be rich. And he drives up to the farmer, and a guy, he's got little straw sticking out of his mouth. He says, hey, how do I be successful like you? And he goes, well, if you want to get more milk, you got to get more cows. He goes, you can't force a 10-gallon cow to make 50 gallons of milk. Not going to happen. And so so all these years of dumb little stories and analogies kind of bring this puzzle together, that when it came to systems, what I realized was I had an above average ability to make things simple. And I could understand these things that were complex at a high level, but I could dumb them. I mean this politely, but I use it on myself as I have to dumb it down. It doesn't work if my grandma can't figure it out. Okay. In my opinion. So ultimately the thing can't work unless so here's to bring this all back to what you asked, is what I then began to do was in my head, I formulated the system that my team could use, the leverage. Like I made a funnel kind of per se. Like I would make a landing page is what they would call it. So you could send somebody there with a specific video. And it was usually what we would call a sizzle video, or even a sizzle phone call. Like, this is the 21st century and I'm really high tech, but I still encourage people to use a recorded phone number sizzle call, because I script it out. I get it where I know how to talk correctly through that. So what I do is, here's this. So I can recruit like crazy. I can recruit. But what happens in how you get duplication in network marketing is to get people to duplicate the activity. You can't get people to duplicate recruiting. You can get people to duplicate the activity. And to me, activity mattered most. And so if I created a system to where I put the emphasis on the simplicity of the simplicity of the system, solving this easy activity problem. And if I could get people to be process focused versus outcome focused, I win every time.
Yeah.
And so that was what I had been doing since like 2008. And I did a video called Moneyball. If you remember the movie Moneyball.
Yeah.
Baseball movie. It's a tremendous marketing movie. People don't realize it. They think it's a baseball movie. But if you really listen deep inside, he was talking about, like people try to recruit the best network marketers out there. I can beat anybody out there by recruiting the most average person with the least amount of skill because I have the most high-tech systems that can plug and play. You have created that. Like with Rapid Funnel, you've created it, and we can go into more on this. So I know I just ran through a lot out there.
No, dude, I love it. And I hope people get like these, but basically, I mean, there's almost three components, right? There's the recruit. You can recruit your way out of any slump. Number one. Number two is it better be systems, Michael Gerber. Number three is at the highest level, it's leadership development and culture, right? You can create a culture. That's a different conversation for a different day. But the two of the biggest things in this business are just teach people to get through the numbers. And in order to do that, you better have a system. They just feed off of each other and you get both sides of it. And then look, there is that third piece that you have created some stuff that even Rapid Funnel can't duplicate because of your personality. And some of those people will come along that have the kind of personality or charisma that they can leverage some one-to-many digital marketing tools that will allow them to recruit at a more prolific rate. But those skills can sometimes be taught too. But go make six figures first, using the system that the leader put in place. And today, and certainly with our platform, a guy like you can take your knowledge and you can almost create the tools they need in a very system process-oriented fashion to help average people kind of crush it using digital tools. That's what, for the first time ever, you don't have to fight it. You don't have to be the old guy that fights everything. And I was that guy. I don't know, were you ever that guy, Mike, or did you buy in pretty early that there doesn't have to be, it's not one or the other?
The joke that started when I was in the bar business about my personality was a guy that I bounced at a club that he would bartend at.
Yeah.
He said, "You are the kind of guy that would go face first through the glass and worry about the stitches later." And I thought it was funny. And my other business partner, like I have another company that's not network marketing. And we call it like running with scissors. Like I'm not afraid to run with scissors and see what happens. And a lot of people are. Like what it is too is I'm not afraid to try stuff. Like and I always looked at everything and thought out of the box, and I look at how the comp plan can be affected by, how comp plans affect activity and what draws them. But I want to, you brought something up during your talk when you were talking about motivation. Michael Gerber in that same CD set said something else. He's called it the myth of motivation. And I was like, because everybody's like, oh, my people were motivated. The myth of motivation is most people think that they have to motivate their people to jack them up to produce results. Mm-hmm. When in fact, he said, if you create a system that helps those people produce results easier, they're naturally jacked up. And I was like, it was just like those couple things literally changed the direction of how I did my business. So I'm like, if I can create like a simple landing page to drive somebody to that they watch a short video that just piques interest, great, no big deal. And then they follow up with this one. Like I had a 3-step process. It was like an introduction video, a testimony video, which was social proof because people are always looking for social proof. They don't want to be the only one on the island. And then the last one was the presentation, and they had to be done in that order. And I emphasized that order due to the fact that you couldn't fire hose somebody with step 3 with too much info, which is what a lot of people do. But you had to pique the interest. And then what I did is, because I had websites and I had like the websites that I used tracked the data. So another next level thing that I had to understand was that you have to make data driven decisions. So here's the problem with me too, is I know I scare companies sometimes. Like I've joined companies that their whole, the CEO, the owner and everything have all been old school. And somebody like me shows up and they don't know what to do with me because I'm a complete enigma wrapped around a riddle surrounded by a labyrinth of all this nerd knowledge. But I dumb it down and they can't figure out what just happened. Like how is Mike recruiting? Like in the last probably 4 companies, I'm usually the number one recruiter. And like the last company I did, I recruited 352 people, 340 of them. I recruited them and they had signed up before I ever even had a conversation with them, which doesn't really register in people's heads. But most importantly, what do you do with that person when they join? Is I have tools and systems in place, because and I know I'm rabbit trailing, but this is a good rabbit trail right here.
It is. Yeah.
When do the people sign up? The majority of their personal reps in their career. First 30 to 90 days max.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because ignorance on fire always beats knowledge on ice, right? If that's the case, then why do I want to try to train somebody, super train them to learn all the ins and outs of everything when they're brand new, when I would rather them run with scissors and just give them a tool that allows them to be able to duplicate the message, duplicate the activity faster while they're ignorance on fire and they get the activity done and now
and this goes back to something you said about process and outcome. What you want to be able to do as a leader is, of course, you can see who gets the outcome and recruits lots of people, and then you can go talk to them. But in a perfect world, you'd go into the rapid funnel back office and go, who is committed to making the most exposures? Whether they're winning or not is irrelevant. Are they committed to the process of telling the story? Because now you can go 12 levels deep, call that person, and they go, man, I made 50 exposures. It's not working. But you know they're hungry. And if you find out they're teachable, you can solve the competency issue. Like, and I hope people are kind of getting this as you're talking. It's just so, I was telling my own team, I got to tell you this real quick, Mike. I was telling my own team this morning, we had our big Q3 meeting. And, we've got a lot of engineers and developers and QA people and all that kind of stuff. They've never been in network marketing. And I think sometimes they look at us as a company and they go, well, you have a CRM, you have email delivery, you have surveys, you have capture pages and landing pages, you have gamification and leaderboards. And they compare us to all these others and they think there's all these competitors. And I'm trying to explain to them this morning, I was like, do you understand that when we create the kind of page that you're talking about, Mike, when we create this beautiful capture page with that person's picture, all their social feeds, a call to action, testimonies, what did it take that distributor, brand new, day one in the business, to get that page? 3 minutes to download an app, answer 4 or 5 questions, put their picture in there, and now every single thing is built. It can go from a survey to an email to a video, and we always let the distributor know every step that is happening. I don't think people get it. And that's where this process that you're talking about meets this other world, of digital marketing, which meets this more authentic, personal based. I just get excited about it. And you're one of the few people, honestly, that kind of gets both sides of the world.
Let me, okay. Cool. So let me expand on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in marketing, there are things called lead indicators and lag indicators. I tell people, and I did this in a PowerPoint when I talked about it, I call it the Moneyball formula, that I said, your back office is absolutely lying to you about your business. In your network marketing back office, it's a lie. I'll tell you why. Because if you go in there and you see that Joe Smith joined, if you don't know how Joe Smith joined, you can't duplicate that. And people always say, well, I had him do this or whatever, but you don't necessarily know comes from. Lead indicators are, how did this person get to the end of the journey? How did this person go from point A to point Z, right? Like, how did that person get here? And so your most important, what they would call in marketing metric, your most important thing that you have to measure is the lead indicators. All right. Now back to network marketing. In network marketing, since it's a people business and it's a personality driven business, there's a saying out there called what you reward gets repeated. Yes, I want reps in my business. And I can put the big on, congratulations for Joe, you sponsored your 8th personal, or congratulations, Mike Healy, you sponsored your 40th personal in the first 30 days. I just blew everybody out of the water because they're not capable of doing it. Right. But if I had a system, wink, wink, rabbit funnel, that showed me the lead indicators of the beginning lead indicator activity, the thing that I edify the most is not the rep that got signed up. I edify the person who took the activity, because I know that because here's the thing. If a guy gets in and he sponsors 6 people, this guy could be the boss of these 6 people. And he just got excited about that opportunity and told all of his employees, and they're not going to get fired. So they're going to all sign up for $200 or whatever. Right. But then I've got Larry over here who's hungry. And you know how I know he's hungry? Because on his activity board in Rapid Funnel, it just showed me that he made 40 contacts in the last 2 days. Guess who I'm going to call and say and encourage? And on the next corporate team Zoom with hundreds or thousands of people watching, I'm going to edify the most, not the person who recruited somebody and signed somebody up, the people who took the activity, because that's the, I know that if somebody asks, if you walk up to 1,000 people and say, hey, you want to make some money? You know what my first pitch was in my first networking company? I would go to the gym, work out. Then when I was done after an hour, I'd go into the gym, into the locker room to change shirts because I was sweaty. And whoever was standing by me, I would say this: hey, you ever look at other ways to make money? And 99% of them would say no. And one time I said this to a kid that was about my age, and he goes, oh my gosh, yes. What do you have? What are you into? What are you doing? And I was like, I didn't even have an answer because no one had said yes at this point. And I'd probably quiz like 50 or so people. And I said, he goes, let's go to lunch. I'm not working today. I'm like, okay. And I showed him and I fumbled through the presentation, and he joined and he became one of my biggest leaders in my group, because you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. But if I can get people to make contact with 100 people, I don't care what they send them, they will enroll people, period. The problem is most people see somebody recruit, they see maybe even the person that recruited them, and that person is fairly sharp. They have credibility and influence, and that person deep down is thinking, I don't have credibility and influence. I can't make a good pitch. But if I had Rapid Funnel to where the experts or whoever made the tool of those steps, I can go in, I can send a quick text message, and then my upline, you know how cool, like I love it, or used to love it. I love it still. I like it still. If somebody in my upline recognizes my activity, not just sponsored, but they're like, hey, good job. And you're like, yeah, attaboy. You know what I'm saying? So if I have the ability to go do that, I can do, it's huge.
Mike, this is Carol, right? It's Carol Dweck and the 4 Disciplines of Execution by Sean Covey, all rolled into one. Is that, when people have children, they want to recognize the kid for being smart or a result, which is one of the most disempowering things you can do in a sense, because then they're always trying to live up to a result, which they can't control. The one thing they can control is the lead measure. And it's amazing how it works. And CEOs of companies don't understand it. And I can talk to a CEO of $1 billion company and say, how much activity, how many new prospects did your field expose last week? No clue. And in this day of age of technology, they cannot tell you the lead measure. They can only tell you sales. So everything you just said is so true, and they have no insight.
You ready?
It's just crazy to me.
Knock, knock. most network marketing owners don't have a clue on marketing. Sorry, I didn't mean to be completely blunt.
Digital marketers do. I mean, that's a reality. They know every click and funnel and where the prospect went, and they look at all the data. And I guess, look, in all fairness, right, there haven't been the tools for network marketing. In a sense, it's the wild, wild west, and everybody's creating their own content. They're using their own tools, and their tools tend to be a little better than corporate stuff or the old methodology which corporate is asking them to deliver it. And so as a result, the field is doing stuff that the company can't track. Right.
So you interviewed, the very first podcast interview you did was with Ray Higdon, right? And because we were talking, and I ended up watching a handful of those. And I hadn't read any. I know who Ray is. I watched some of his stuff.
Yeah.
And great guy. And he ended up. I bought that book that he'd the reference on there, the leadership. That one. And he's saying the same things. Is basically you're trying to force these people into higher levels when they maybe want to be the smaller level. And I remember I was working closely with a guy that was my upline, and he was a 6-figure monthly earner. But he was just a machine. Like, he was on the phone from morning till night, and he was, he was flying to different cities, and he was doing like this. And he thought that was the thing to do and inspire people. And I finally told him, I said, dude, there is absolutely nothing that you do that I want to do that drives me to do networking. And he goes, but I'm making money. I go, there's a significant difference between making money and having a life. Like, I'm naturally, believe it or not, an introvert. I love just waking up when I'm done sleeping, go to my pool. I have a real nice pool. I sit at my pool all day. I get some coffee about noon. I go to the gym. In the middle of the afternoon, I go play racquetball. But the thing is, I have systems in place that allow me to do that. So I have a system to launch a person. I have pretty much all the videos done. If there's a questions in a company, because there's usually like top 5 questions that anybody ever asks. How's the comp plan work? How do I sign people up? How do I keep my membership going or, discontinued? And so I make videos on that. And then I train my people to use a video. Even though I could answer almost everything in detail, I play, back to Paul Orbison, I play dumb because I need them to always play dumb, quote unquote. And people think it's a joke, but it's really not. I'm like, the smarter people get in network marketing, usually the less results they have. Back to the ignorance on fire. It's more about being enthusiastic. And if I can be enthusiastic about taking my phone and saying, you want me to show you how I'm making 6 figures a month or whatever? And I go like this, say, see this app? I basically, a couple times a day, I'll sit at the pool and I'll send some friends that are in my contact list. I go, man, it's going to take me 2 years to get through all the phone numbers I got in here. I just randomly put them in there. And I go, you see this guy right here? I sent one about 2 days ago to, and in Rapid Funnel, it shows me this guy's got like 60 points. Do you know what that means? That means this guy went and saw this video. He funneled this video, da-da-da. Guess who I can talk to out of the last 10 people I texted in the last hour sitting at the pool? And people are like, what? I go, yeah. How'd you like money? How'd you like to make money texting? Well, who wouldn't? And then it's just the message, because it's just the principles. And some people are going to like a product company. Some people are going to like a service company. And you just can't tell the duds from the studs, the zeros from the heroes. You don't know who's going to do what. And I quit thinking about it. I quit caring what somebody thought, because to me, lifestyle and freedom is the number one thing. And if I have a system in place, like so anyhow, let me slow down. I'm all jacked up on caffeine too, if you can't tell. I second cup. But what I did was I did all of these things basically manually with websites, lead capture pages, and so on. And I built them for my team. But then when I saw Rapid Funnel for the first time, I actually laughed out loud because I didn't know it existed. And I'm like, I said it to somebody the guy that sponsored me said, well, we started using this thing called Rapid Funnel. Well, that sounds cool. And I looked at it And I could obviously, I immediately could identify everything in there just from my marketing experience. And I told him, I said, you have no idea what you have your hands on. This is probably the greatest tool that's ever been introduced to network marketing, because it amplifies the right activities for the average person to become successful. And if just followed through, they can. But the next best thing is it lets the leaders know who in their group raises their hand and says, I'm your next superhero. And you can sit and hold that hand and develop it. Like, I recruit 100 personals, right? If you don't call me, I don't call you, because it's literally a weird thing. But people go, well, my sponsor, and it happened to me when the first guy that ever sponsored me, and 3 weeks later, he inherited $3.2 million from a dead uncle. True story. And I was on my own with no internet, no cell phones. And a guy called me a month later because he saw on his paper downline report a guy named Mike Healy, who'd signed like 11 people. But back to this is now with your system, with Rapid Funnel System, everything that I need, all of the proper data points that I need to be successful are at my fingertips, and the convenience of that. And I can be global. I can be on the beach. I can be wherever I want, enjoying my life and having a real lifestyle, but still developing a part-time or / full-time income using this. And I know that system works because it's a numbers game, always has been, always will be. Nothing will ever change. And whoever tells the story the most wins. We've been saying that for 500 years in network marketing, and you guys developed it, and it's easy to use. Am I, Jack?
Listen, that's $100,000 soundbite, Jose. We're going to be using that. But Mike, you are the quintessential, and this isn't a bad thing, but it's like almost some people are embarrassed by it. But you're just the quintessential work smarter and not harder, being ambitiously lazy. Like, I'm just going to create systems, and I'm almost embarrassed. Like, I mean, I'll confess it. 400,000 or some crazy number of recruits in the organization, more millions than I can count. I don't think I've recruited 300 people lifetime, because now I made that mistake. What you were talking about earlier, I mean, I am sitting here thinking, man, if I had really learned to create, because I was avoiding all the digital stuff, even when it was becoming prolific, I was avoiding it. But what I did do was crazy systems. And I could go grab that team that I did recruit, and I could get massive duplication. And I can't help but think, I mean, I built a monster, made a fortune. I got no regrets, but I can't help but think, man, if I had Rapid Funnel back in the day, and I'd have taken 25% of my time on recruiting, 25% on systems and duplication, and then I could have done what you do, which is what I always did. I always had time, freedom. I worked out, took care of my kids. Like, that stuff was more important. I love how you've gone about building it. I think it's so cool.
Well, I had, because my pastor said this, and my pastor owned businesses, like real big businesses, before he was a pastor. And I've been going to the same church like 26 years now. And phenomenal guy named Gary Cassey, just loving me. Like, I've learned more from this gentleman than anybody I've ever learned from. That is not an exaggeration. But he was talking about his business, and he said, I came to realize, because it was part of his sales business, and I think he had an original background in A.L. Williams back way back when, right?
Okay.
And he said that he came to realize that the only thing you really truly owe your person as an upline mentor is an example of success. But ultimately, they're going to have to do the work. And I never forgot that, because it really took the pressure off of me of feeling responsible for someone's success or not. And so what I did is I went back to the very first training of not, I always jokingly say this, that people aren't tomato plants, but I realized that if I just planted a bunch of tomato plants / got people in, that the ones that said, hey, I want to go be a 6-figure earner would let me know. And then that's the person I can say, hey, you might want to read this book and go to this event and do this and do this. And it just simplified the process. And it was just became easier to do this thing. Like, I have like my current companies that I am part of, nobody calls me. Like, what's so funny is people think that I'm so busy because I look busy and I have the results. Because I don't want the work, I want the results, right? I want the big fat check. I want the lifestyle. And by having the right systems in place, I can have the lifestyle without most of the majority of the headaches. And people don't, it's hard to believe because most of us are conditioned anyhow from the real world that you have to grind. Like there's so many people out there, the networkers, that think it's just, you got to grind, you got to grind, you got to grind. The problem is they're grinding with the wrong things and they're exhausting their team. I think in Ray's book, it was phenomenally put about exhausting people to the point that you'll get them to quit because you're trying to drive them to do whatever. I just put stuff out there and say, hey, here's a buffet. If you want to go up to the buffet and fill your plate with shrimp, I don't care. If you want to go up and just get a little tiny salad, have at it. If you want to be a hog like I used to be, and instead of using a plate, I would use the tray and fill the tray so I didn't have to make so many trips up there. That's a true story, by the way. I wouldn't use the plate. I would get the whole tray and just start piling food on the tray. I figured they were clean. Anyhow, probably as clean as the plates. And it'd save me less.
Redneck dog.
But that's systems. Think about it. Why keep going up there with a plate when you could fill the tray?
Good.
So yeah, total hillbilly. But you know what I'm saying? So it's, I know I rabbit trailed on that one.
Dude, I just love it. You and I could go for hours. That's the crazy part because I get so excited about this stuff. And I know we're going to do a lot of stuff together. Our team learned an enormous amount from you. And that stuff I'm working on today, like, the podcast, the YouTube, the reels, all this stuff to get the rapid funnel story out there. I'm learning a lot, so I'm really enjoying it, man. And I appreciate you taking the time. How can people reach out to you, Mike? If they want to reach out to you for whatever reason, if you want them to be able to do that, how would they go about that? Or do you have any channels that?
You can, a couple of ways you can reach me. MikeHealyTraining.com is my website, and that's easy to find me.
What are you doing on the training side?
I have some digital marketing stuff on there, which most of it I do in it. It's somewhat generic, but it's all kind of tailored towards networkers.
Okay.
I do have a couple, I have a network marketing mastery course on there, which is basic stuff that I sit with this in the camera here. And I walk people through this stuff so you can get bite-sized pieces. Mm-hmm. And then I even have, I have a new course I put out there. I call it the Momentum Bomb Launch Strategy, which is me expanding on and showing people to show you exactly what I do. Like when I join a company, how I figure out if the company's in momentum, because you can't lie to me anymore. I know how to look at everything behind the curtain. And if you say your company's in momentum, you give me 30 minutes and I'll tell you if they're going to be dead in a week or if they're going to be the next big thing. And I picked, and it's been working. I've been picking some winners. And so I have that. So Mike Healy Training, but then my YouTube channel, there's tons of content on my YouTube channel. If you just type in Mike Healy, you'll see my mug come up and stuff like that. And then, I got some other stuff out there. If you happen to see me doing review videos on the side, I picked up just for fun. I started doing Amazon review videos as something because I was like, well, I make videos all the time. This seems to be pretty easy. And I did 3.7 million in sales in Amazon product reviews last year, which is totally crazy. But it was a residual income, totally different story. But guess what? It was just leverage. It was make a video, and they live forever. And that's what I do with my networking career. So a lot of people don't understand that the stuff you can learn in networking, even if you really don't go make six figures in network marketing, you can take those same principles and strategies and go apply them to a lot of other businesses and things like that, make an absolute fortune doing it. And I just like to put my hands on a bunch of stuff and see what happens. We live in incredible times, and you can learn so much with cross training and marketing today. It's really incredible. There's such great content out there. Well, Mike, I know you're getting ready for a monster barbecue at the Mike Healy household. What's it called, Mike? Big Guns Barbecue. My nickname is Gun from the bar business. I literally got that nickname. My wife, that's all she calls me. Big Guns Barbecue. It's the second annual. My boys are inviting all their friends over, and it's a lot of fun. I got cornhole going on. I got a big pool. We'll do volleyball, and then I'm grilling all day. Like I'm smoking pork butts as we speak.
Dude, with a name like Big Guns, you're going to have to carry those guns till you're like 90. You don't have a choice now, right?
It's all good.
I love it, man. Well, thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate you taking the time. I know if a guest listened in today, they got a ton of great insight. So I'm excited. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, Patrick.
Thanks for listening. If you know someone who would be a great guest for the show, send an email to beyondthedream@rapidfunnel.com.